Jagex have announced a potential update today, which is going to have a massive impact on the old school RuneScape economy. I say potential update, this has now been mentioned many times, and they say that they have even paid financial analysts for advice on how to do it. So I would say it's a given that this is now happening, and the only thing they are debating now is the specifics of it. They are essentially trying to stop too much gold coming into the game, as well as too many items. Every time players alch, thieve, or just get coin drops from NPCs, it introduces more gold into the game, and the amount coming in is far greater than the amount going out when we do things like make planks or buy from shops. Now that Old School RuneScape has been out for quite a long time, the amount of GP in the game has gone up massively, and in effect every GP is now worth less. In a similar way to Deadman mode, where the money is worth far more initially and you can trade other players 100 times more 07 GP for it in the first few days, but in the last few days it is only worth a little bit more, and that is because the more people have of anything, the less demand there is and the less it is worth. And you may wonder why this is even an issue, since although the price we pay goes up, we have more gold to buy it with, so it balances itself out. Well, it is more for new players. At a low level, most of the money makers that we do, such as thieving, getting drops such as rune items, or doing the agility pyramid, have a set reward amount, making it very difficult for these players to progress, as everything costs way more than they can afford. So the first thing that Jagex plan to change is to add the grand exchange tax of 2%, which the seller pays. This in theory makes it less likely for players to hoard items and try to flip them for a profit, but actually I will come back to this later, as other things implemented mean that this won't work. But it does achieve the other thing that it wants to do, and it creates an item sink, as the 2% tax is then going to be used to buy items there are too many of and delete them from the game. But it is important to note that so far, nothing has affected how much GP there is in the game. This is because the 2% GP tax taken is then put back into the game, as a program uses that GP to buy those items before deleting them, so the money comes back. So this part of the update is solely for the item sink and nothing else. The reason we need an item sink is that there isn't enough updates, new bosses or items, as there simply isn't enough staff working on Old School RuneScape to meet the demands. So we end up grinding the same content over and over again until we have far more items from that content than we actually use between us. To be clear, this is not an issue with the mods, as it is quite frankly a minor miracle that this game has survived this long, and it is testament to them that they have managed to keep so many players active and interested for this long. But Jagex don't make as much from us, and the funding for Old School RuneScape naturally reflects this. However, I do think that they have made a massive mistake by giving us the names of the items that are probably going to be in that item sink. The 2% tax is meant to put off hoarders, and I read a post saying that this was in their thinking. However, an item sink removes the biggest risk to hoarders, and that is the risk an item crashes by tens of millions of GP. The item sink in itself means most items will rise in price, or at least not fall, which is far more important than any 2% tax. To prove this, after I read the update, I immediately bought out 3 items in that list: the Kraken Tentacle, Dark Bow, and a Cult Necklace. And within an hour, they had all gone up by 25%. It is now far safer for players to hoard than it has ever been before. But if you are looking to profit off this, the time may have gone already, but I presume they will go up at least 50% more and probably over double in price, but that risk is on you. However, Jagex have said that they are also looking at adding in extra items, and I wanted to have a look at what that could be. Firstly, Slayer items have for a long time not been worth very much at all. Things like the G-Maw, which is still a very useful PKing item, is still only worth just above its out price. And things like this and the Dragon Boots really need the excess amount of them removing from the game in order to make Slayer much more profitable again. There are also many useful items that are rare drops from bosses, but because the game is saturated, they are now worth very little at all, considering how difficult they are to obtain, such as Saradomin's Light and a lot of the Barrow's armour as well, which is as low as we have ever seen it before. Finally, there are also the items that there are millions of in the game that end up being traded for other items or sold to shops, such as trading sticks and rune arrows. The arrows simply end up being sold to shops by bots, creating even more money in the economy. But the most important thing as you read that list and you agreed with some of them and disagreed with others, is that it is just speculation and we simply don't know. So anyone looking to hoard an item does it with great risk and is far less likely to pump all of their money into it. But by listing the items they are looking to do it with, they have made it harder for new players to get those items as they are going to go up in price. The very thing that they are trying to fix with this update. But they are also trying to fix another thing, and that is the amount of GP in the game. As I explained, the GE tax does not affect us in any way because the gold is not deleted, it is reinvested when an item is purchased. So instead they are polling two different ways to get rid of the GP. The first is by selling us more bank space. I personally hate the fact that they say they have just managed to achieve this ability to give us more bank space when RS3 have been selling extra space for years, but that's another topic for another day. However, it serves its purpose in the fact that people want it, they will pay it. It's only a quality of life update. It will remove a ton of GP from the game, and they have staggered it so we can purchase what we can afford. Before people complain about this, they could have quite easily done this with bonds and didn't, which is a huge positive in my opinion to those working on Oldskool RuneScape, fighting for what the community wants. The next part of the poll is a gilded sink, which is 10 million GP and you can build it in your house with 47 construction, and all I can say to this is, what is the point? Actually, I know what the point is. It's so we can remove gold from the game, and to that extent I do get it, but if I go into anyone's house who wants to flex a golden sink, I'm officially unfriending you, and then I'm going to have a long hard look in the mirror for having you as a friend in the first place. That is everything you need to know about this update. I would love to know your thoughts on it as well. It's okay if you don't agree with what I have said. Mine is just one opinion and it doesn't make it right, apart from the part about the sink.